Welcome back, folks. Chase Valenzuela here with the Storm Summit, coming at you from inside Millennium Bowl. We'll start out in the track area here. This ball, on paper, looks to be sort of a step up from balls like the Phaze 2. Keeping it in front of me here, these first few shots, sort of with my standard release, that's about 50 degrees of axis rotation. You see the balls struggling just a little bit to get up the hill. I found that this one was a lot more successful, covering a few more boards, increasing that rotation a little bit. You'll see as I get my hand around it more. I can get to about 60 degrees of rotation, and I was maxing it out as I moved in to get this ball to shape properly on the house shot. This thing is strong. When I saw it on paper, obviously it's reminiscent of the Axiom with that blue and silver. The Axiom was one that was out before my time with Storm, but I did have the Axiom Pearl, and I was hoping that the Summit would have a cleaner hybrid cover so that it would be similar to that Axiom Pearl. And honestly, I do see a pretty familiar shape out of this compared to that. It's fairly clean, but that lower RG does make it sort of start to wind up in the mid lane more than you might expect. But that cover does get it down the lane and get it to store energy well, and it doesn't change direction super fast, which is reminiscent of the Axiom Pearl for me. We'll keep chasing it left here, maybe soften up the speed a little bit as we move further left and get those angles bigger and bigger. And then we'll get into some comparison shots today with the Storm Phaze 2 and the Roto Grip TNT. First up, we have the Phaze 2. I found the Phaze 2 to be a touch cleaner than the Summit. This is one of the things that I love about the Phaze 2 as a symmetrical solid ball, is it is unusually clean and a touch quicker than most of the other ones on the market. I find the Summit to be a touch earlier overall. I think that's mostly due to the lower RG and not necessarily the cover being that much earlier. I also think the Phaze 2 is a little bit quicker off the spot, where the Summit is a little bit rounder and smoother. And this lets me go left to right with the Summit a little easier and not get so much of that hook stop that I seem to get out of the Phaze 2 when I get super deep with it. Overall, I think the Summit is going to be one of those balls that I can play the hold with more than play the hook, where the Phaze 2 is the opposite. With the Phaze 2, I've got to bump the dry a little bit to get it to shape up the right way. And with the Summit, if I miss into the oil, I think the core is that much stronger and the cover is a touch stronger overall, formula-wise, than the Phaze 2, that it'll still shape up and get to the pins. Now we have the TNT. The TNT for me is much earlier and slower overall than both the Summit and the Phaze 2. The Summit for me almost fits in between the Phaze 2 and the TNT. While the Summit is a touch earlier and rounder than the Phaze 2, I have a lot easier time getting it to come back and make the corner than I do the TNT. On the house shot, the TNT for me just appears to be a little bit too much too soon and a little bit flat once it exits the pattern and hits the pins. Overall, I think the TNT would be better for me on something flatter or slicker, where the Summit is going to be nice on the house shot and even on maybe some recreational patterns, that 3-to-1 to 5-to-1 spot, where they are a little bit flatter because it is heavier rolling and smoother overall. The Summit for me seems to sort of balance these two shapes really well, where I get that mid lane control and that evenness that I get out of the TNT, but it does corner a touch better than the TNT. Get your Summit June 23rd at your local pro shop. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.